everyone, it's Bonnie from expressionsvinyl.com, and I'm kind of new to vinyl, so this is I wanted to show a simple kids t-shirt project and share with you some tips and tricks that I found and some mistakes that I made, and I'm so excited for how this is turning out. So I can't wait to see how it will really turn out when we finish heat pressing it onto the t-shirt. But what I'm going to show first is how to line up the center of a shirt. The project that I found is just something that I found on the Silhouette Design Store, and so I've just adapted that, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit while we're waiting to, while I'm heat pressing some of these on. But how do I line up my t-shirt? This is my t-shirt. I'm going to simply line up the shoulder seam right here and line up my armpit right there, and I'm going to put that into my heat press just for a few seconds, and that's going to give me a really nice center line right down the center so that I can make sure that my project isn't crooked and all over the place. So that is my first line right there. You can see that went right down the center. My second line, I'm going to fold my t-shirt right into the armpits. So I'm holding it right at the armpits, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put a crease right in the center of that, and just for a few seconds. So now you can see really clearly that I've got a straight line going across my shirt. I can choose to use that to line up the top of my project or to line up a word or whatever, but at least that gives me some place to start as far as where I want my project. Now, the project that I am doing, I'll share with you a couple of tricks that I used. As I said, I got this off of the Silhouette Design Store, and I saw these lightning bugs, and I just knew that would be the cutest design for a summer kids t-shirt with using glow-in-the-dark. And so that's where I got this jar and these lightning bugs off of that, and then I just added my own saying. One thing that I've had a hard time with is figuring out on my computer exactly how big it's going to look once I get it on the t-shirt. And so I like to print it out on paper before I cut it. So I printed it out the first time, and I was able to put that down, and I realized I didn't really like how big the letters were. I wanted them a little bit bigger, and I also wanted my yellow that was offset around my the word brightest. I wanted that a little bit bigger. And so I went ahead and I printed it out a second time with a little bit of a bigger font, and this trick has helped me several times so that I didn't have to waste my vinyl and cut something out and wish that it was different. So that's one little trick. Print it out before you cut, and that will hopefully save you some vinyl. I've got kind of a lot of layers here, and that's another thing to think about is when I'm ironing something on, what layer do I have to put on first, because what is going to overlap? So I'm going to start out with this word brightest, and I'm going to line the bottom part of it up with my horizontal line that I made with the heat press. I can see that the G is kind of the center of my jar. And even though I printed it out and I had that overlap, you can see with my lid, I've chose to not make it overlap quite as much. After I printed it out and saw it, I thought, I don't want my G to go into the top of my lid. So I am going to line that piece up. And I also, now, I've got a piece here, my outside of my jar, that is not touching the yellow, so I can go ahead and place that piece where I would like it as well. Okay, I've got my heat press set for 15 seconds for easy weed, 10 seconds actually for easy weed. And while that is counting down, I'm going to show you some of the other tricks and mistakes that I made. I make all of the mistakes so that you don't have to make the mistakes, because I know mistakes cost money, especially with heat transfer vinyl. Mistakes cost money. Okay, let's peel this off. We're peeling. This is electric yellow that I'm using for that will peel right off. And let me get my second layer, and then I'll tell you about my mistakes. Okay, I'm going to add. The nice thing about lining up heat transfer vinyl is if I don't like where I lined it up, I can just rip it off and kind of keep placing it exactly where I want it. So unlike adhesive that you have to be a little more careful because you only get one chance, heat transfer vinyl, you get a little more, it's a little more forgiving that way. But if you layer it incorrectly, then it's not so forgiving, because then you have to figure out how to pull your vinyl up. Okay, I'm doing layer number 2. Some of the mistakes I made. I'm using strip flock for this blue jar. So you can see how strip flock vinyl, it actually bows a little bit. I was actually even using a smaller piece than this, and it bowed a little bit. And so I taped down this strip flock onto my cutting mat, but I just taped the top down. I didn't tape the bottom down. And like I said, I was using a smaller piece. And so as it went through my silhouette, the bottom, this little lip got caught in my machine, and then it pulled the vinyl up and it cut it incorrectly. So tip number 1, you might need to tape down your vinyl onto your cutting mat, and that's okay. It doesn't, you can just take the tape off. It doesn't affect the cut at all. In fact, the tape that I used was kind of thick, and so it just cut right over that, and that's not a problem at all. Let's see how our project is doing over here. Now, strip flock is a cold pull, so I'm going to have to let that cool for a minute before I add my next layer. Strip flock is a cold peel, so we've let it cool here a little bit, and I'm going to peel this off for my next layer. I've also used strip flock underneath my other lettering here. So we'll put this next layer of strip flock. Actually, see, I almost did this wrong. My next layer has got to be my lid before I put that other piece of strip flock on. So as I'm kind of putting these different layers on, I'm looking at what is going to be heated, and if it's possible for me to add other pieces, like I'm doing the lid right now, but I can also start adding my lightning bugs to my project, then I'm going to, those aren't going to affect any of the heat. Okay, I've got a few more pieces down. This time, since I have got some of my vinyl exposed, I'm going to use some multi-purpose paper to put down. And okay, so another mistake that I made in cutting. My strip flock, you can see this, even though on my printer, on my computer, I printed these out in different colors, the jar is actually the same color as this lettering. And so I thought it would be an easy, convenient idea to weld these pieces together, join those pieces together. I thought I would be saving vinyl, and if I just cut this all out, and then it would be easier for me to line up my letters. But as I was putting all of my pieces down, I realized that I needed my lid of my jar to be in between those two layers. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but my idea that I thought I was doing didn't work because of how I needed to layer it. So you have to be really careful as far as what piece you're going to have to press down, and Easy Weed just comes on and off so easy. Easy Weed comes on and off so easy. That's great. Okay, I'm putting the top of my lid on. Let's see, I might be able to, nope, I can't do that piece yet because of where my lid is sitting. So again, you're gonna just kind of have to play with seeing what layers you can put on. Again, I'm going to use my multi-purpose paper. And we're getting close, but I like how it's turning out so far. Now where I'm layering things on, I really don't need to put them on for the full amount of time. But let's see how everything's coming off okay. Okay, I've got one more layer after this one, but you'll be happy to know that I had to cut my strip flock 3 different times because of the mistakes that I made. The first one being that the vinyl bows a little bit, so I didn't tape it down properly. The second time, where I thought I should join these pieces or weld these pieces all together, and that was not a good idea because of how they were layered, they shouldn't be joined together. And so I'm hoping that all of the mistakes I'm making, they cost me, they don't cost you. I want to save you from having to make the same mistakes. This is another piece of strip flock, so we've got to do a cold peel on that. So we'll let it peel for a little bit, or we'll let it cool for a little bit before we peel that off. And then my final layer. Okay, we let our strip flock cool, and I've just peeled that off, peeled that carrier sheet off for our final layer. And I know this project seems like, oh my goodness, that was so much. It was not. This was an easy project because, as I said, I just pulled the design off of the Silhouette store. So this was a really easy project, and hopefully you can learn from some of those little mistakes that I made. And if you can just keep in mind when you're pressing them on or when you're ironing them on, what layer goes first, what layer goes second. It's so fun to layer the vinyl and see how it turns out. Yay! I love it! Okay, here we go. I brighten your day. And my little lightning bugs, this jar, all of the white pieces that you see, it's really not white. It is glow in the dark. So this should glow and just make cute little circles, and the jar is also going to glow. So I hope you liked that idea. I hope you learned something. Please like us, subscribe to our channel, leave some comments or questions if you have any comments or questions, and I would love to answer them for you. Have a good day. Bye.